All right. Anything else you want to talk about before we start?
Nothing comes to mind.
All right. Well, then let's just dive in at this point. Welcome to the Monkey Bar. I don't know why I said that weird, but my name is Tony.
I'm Zach.
And today we are going to talk about, we were going to talk about something else. But we're going to have to say something else that we were going to talk about was Yu Yu Hakusho, an anime about ghosts and monsters that ties into our program and gives me an excuse to talk about anime. But instead we are going to talk about the Dark Universe Cinematic Universe, or the DUCU as some people have described it.
No, it's a shrub!
Yeah, it's a failed attempt to start a cinematic universe on the coattails of Marvel, which is topical because Infinity War. No spoilers for Infinity War. Yeah. We're not going to talk about that. Instead, we are going to start by talking about the first movie in the failed cinematic universe, Dark Cinematic Universe, The Mummy. I did not see The Mummy. I saw the infamous soundless trailer. Yeah, the Tom Cruise yelling and stock sound effects. That's the one thing I think is going to be memorable about this movie, because it's been, a year and a half since it came out?
Yeah.
And nobody's talked about it. Nobody is interested in seeing the next entry in this cinematic universe. But you saw this movie in theaters. What was your experience?
Now, I'm a man who can enjoy sitting down and turning off my brain eating popcorn while staring at a picture, and this was that. It was an okay watch. I mean, I enjoyed the female mummy. I'm just gonna say this though, it was awful, but I wanted to see more from it. It was a certain grade of awful. It wasn't Super Mario Brothers, but at the same time, nothing else will be.
Super Mario Brothers is good, yeah.
But it's awful. It's the cheese. If it was a cheese, it's a fine mozzarella.
Whereas this one is,
It's the cheese they use on a McDonald's sandwich.
Well, that's brutal coming from you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see it. But yeah, I guess from what I gleaned from other reviewers, secondhand experience, I guess that they had other Universal monsters and figures show up. Dr. Jekyll.
They actually made a couple Easter eggs that I saw. The black lagoon creature's hand can be seen in one scene. At one point, I swear they show a poster for this island, Earth. And I swear they use the name Operation Rain somewhere in there. I'm not sure about the last one, but I saw the hand and I thought I heard those names.
What's the last one supposed to be?
Claude Rains played the Invisible Man.
Oh.
I'm going to be honest with you. I would have liked to see more from this. To paraphrase Ron White, if you see one shitty DUCU movie, you want to see them all. He was talking about tits, by the way.
Oh, I thought you said DUCU for a minute. I'm like, how does My Hero Academia factor into this?
Well, you see, both are overhyped to hell. Oh wait, no, there is no hype for Mummy. It's under.
Yeah, but My Hero Academia is good. I will fight you to the death if you say otherwise.
It's more Batman.
I mean, that's like your opinion, man.
I actually need to see it though.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good.
Someone spoiled it for me.
I mean, I'd still recommend seeing it because, I guess it is predictable. A lot of people said it's formulaic, but it does it so well that you don't even notice. But we're talking about
monsters. Yeah,
monster movies. Yeah, and this one.
Real quick, I like to imagine when we stray off topic, we're like Chris Chan, but instead of looking to Optimus Prime to confirm our sexuality, we look to a poster of Godzilla.
Yeah, I mean, I bet like half of our audience got that one. Or like 2 people got that one.
The 2 people.
Yeah, the 2 people. 2 people out of the 4 people watching this. Oh yeah, and they built this up really big. They had a lot of big names attached to it. You had Tom Cruise, Russell Crowe. Who else?
You basically summed up the problem with the movie.
Johnny Depp was going to be the Invisible Man in a future project.
I hope they still do it. The other thing I want to say though, and this is the thing that I thought was, excuse me. The thing that I thought was the funniest bit of this whole project is there was actually a film that came before this. It was that Dracula Untold.
Yeah, that's right.
And then they retconned it because they wanted to do Dracula differently. Probably like make Dracula a man with cape who shoots lasers from his eyes.
Was I, Frankenstein supposed to be part of the universe?
Unfortunately, no. It's actually from another comic.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, that it makes sense that it would be from a comic, because, like, Frankenstein's like a superhero in that one.
Yeah. I mean, he's the best universal monster.
Yeah, and, like, it makes sense that he'd be a superhero, because, like, he's meant to be, I guess in the story, and don't quote me on this, because I'd never read it.
They call him Prometheus.
Yeah.
Prometheus Unbound is the title of the subtitle of the book. Prometheus brought fire to man. Man brought life to Frankenstein. Frankenstein is the next step of evolution. Except he moved to Antarctica after killing everyone his creator loves. Because that's what children do.
You ever seen Flesh for Frankenstein?
I keep seeing it in the library. I need to pick it up.
Yeah, it's basically the Evil Dead of Frankenstein movies.
Oh, I need to look it up now. Is it funny?
Yeah, well, it's very campy. It has Udo Kier playing Dr. Frankenstein, and he's this German actor who's known for like these super over the top performances.
Is he the Nicolas Cage of German actors?
I would hesitate to say so because I don't know enough about his filmography to make a good judgment on that. But I have seen clips of him in Flesh for Frankenstein. He was also in Barbed Wire with Pamela Anderson. He played the villain, and like he gives like a Cage-like performance in that one.
I don't want to admit, but I've seen Barbed Wire.
You remember his character?
No, there's two reasons why I don't remember anything from that movie.
Oh yeah. But there's like a part at the end where he's like he's trying to run her over with a forklift, and like he's just laughing hysterically.
That's really funny for a reason I can't discuss on microphone.
The part where he's about to like get crushed, he's like, "I got you, babe," and of course she doesn't like being called babe, so she crushes him. Oh wait, we're talking about monsters.
Oh, anyways, my last another thing I want to say about the Mummy movie, it could have been good. You could look at Spawn, the comics. It is a guy who went to hell. I love you, baby. And Devil goes, oh yeah, well, we'll send you back on Earth. Do like a thing. Make it body horror. Have Leonardo DiCaprio slowly decaying. Have him have to return to this tomb.
It's like the opposite of... No, wait. Leonardo DiCaprio wasn't in Benjamin Button. That was Brad Pitt.
Oh, was it? I think so, yeah.
It's either Brad Pitt or Matt Damon. I keep getting those guys confused. For some reason. It's like they kind of look the same. But
Brad Damon's a good name.
But would you recommend The Mummy?
Now, I don't drink and do drugs, but it seems like a good party movie. Put it on and go, You do it better. I went at a Wilhelm Scream movie. Like, with the part where the mummies... Oh, man. I will say this, though. I like the chick who played the mummy. Like, 10/10 will draw fan art of her.
Yeah. I guess there's not much to say about The Mummy, really.
Now, if I had seen it before I saw this guy new job, don't have time for it, I would have had different thoughts.
Yeah. More about the Dark Universe. Did you ever see the trailer they put out promoting the Dark Universe?
Wasn't the one where they have all the directors like, yeah, this is going to be awesome. It's gonna be...
No, it was like, and this was the official page, but like they put out this trailer that cobbled together the classic Universal horror movies, like the original Invisible Man, the original Wolfman, and they spliced it all together with action movie music playing in the background, and it's just the worst thing ever. It's like something you'd see,
YouTube page.
Yeah, a fan trailer, like a fan would make this, but it was official, and it was just the most baffling thing.
What I would have done, don't make it an action film, but it doesn't call itself an action film. Make it a horror film with the action concepts.
Yeah, like less like Underworld and more like I guess Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah. Like, do Frankenstein. Have Frankenstein, as a bulletproof, he's getting shot up. But the thing is, at the end of every battle, he has to pull out each bullet. He has to replace his limbs with those he fought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't really think of any other movies that balance those two.
One I can think of is the original Blade. No, the Blade 2, I think. It was where Blade fought the Predator vampires.
Yeah, would Evil Dead or Evil Dead 2 count? Or is that more horror comedy?
Evil Dead 2, probably.
Yeah, I still need to see that.
I wish, yeah.
Because I've only seen the first one, and that seems to be the least well-received. Or, like, the least talked about, at least.
You know what we should do? We've been talking about doing a riff track sort of thing. We should do that for Evil Dead 2. Called, like, something blood related. Because, we're going to be fresh blood. I don't know. Fresh blood films?
I don't know. But yeah, the trailer for the DUCU, it looked to be just it was a trailer that was promoting an idea instead of a finished product, which is probably the most baffling
thing. That would be like if they did an Avengers trailer when, like, in 2011, where it would show, like, Captain Shield, Thor's hammer, Hulk's fist.
No, it would be like if they showed footage of, like, the Captain America movie from the 1990s and cut that together with the Hulk movie from the 70s. And expected people to, like, look forward to whatever they were going to do with these properties.
In another universe, Golem and Mahekam Golem.
Sure, why not?
The guy who made the Superman films.
Oh, Richard Donner?
No, the guy, the company produced them. Golem and something. Canon Films. Okay, I'm losing my damn mind. The guys who made the Superman films, like the ones, not the original, but like the sequels, they had Richard Pryor show up and they had nuclear.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I can't remember the name though.
Oh yeah, it's something Globus. Imagine if they did the Avengers. That's what it seems like. DQ.
Oh, I would love to see. I would love to see Richard Pryor play Nick Fury, or his bumbling son.
Nick Fury. I regret the 70s. Back to the Dark Humor's last thing I'm going to say on this topic, to the points already. I really think that its biggest weakness is that it's moderately okay.
I almost want to say that, like, this idea of an action-oriented horror monster movie universe wouldn't work. It would work better with. I would argue that it would work better with slasher movie villains rather than classic horror movies.
I would argue if you adapt the classic horror.
Yeah.
Like, maybe restructure the origins, kind of like they did, but do it well. Like, make Dracula this big threat, and the actual Dracula you follow is they took his blood and gave it to, like, a super soldier.
Well, I mean, I guess it would be more fitting though for slasher movie villains to play the part, because the Universal horror movies were meant to be like slow gothic type build up. It was a lot of suspense, and you lose that suspense, you lose that iconography when you adapt that into an action oriented format.
If you take actually, Freddy vs. Jason is exactly what you're talking about. It's a great movie. I love it.
Are they owned by the same film studio?
I think either that or they signed an agreement.
All right. Well, whoever came up with that, they should hire us.
Wes Kruger.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I already have like a pitch, and like I can just.
And I have a slight pitch for a villain. Do a slasher horror film, or team-up film, where the villain is actually a stand-in for Angry Moms, who's a politician who has an evil demon as his ally. So we did have another topic planned, right?
Yes, that's right. And I think we both, or at least me in particular, I have more to say about this topic than the last one.
I have more to bullshit about this topic, too.
Oh, it's the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. For those not familiar, the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen was originally a comic graphic novel created by Alan Moore, best known for Watchmen, V for Vendetta. I think this is what he did after V for Vendetta. This was in the 90s? I don't know.
Sounds right.
But yeah, it's about set in 1898, and it follows significant figures from Victorian era stories like Mina Harker from Dracula, Alan Quatermain, The Invisible Man, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Basically, everything that the Dark Universe tried to do and failed, the comic, at least, of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen did it a lot better. However, in the early 2000s, they did a movie, and it was not very good. I saw the movie.
I did too, on Sci-Fi Original Films.
I saw it on FX, and it wasn't very good, obviously, but it wasn't unwatchable. I would say it's closer to the Super Mario Brothers movie than The Mummy in terms of cheese. It definitely has like those cheesy moments of. I mean, it's completely clashes with the source material, which was I don't know, like it doesn't like.
Brooding is the word.
Yeah, I would say macabre describes the comics better. Well, this is more. It's more. It has that 2000s action movie stank to it.
2000s action superhero movie.
Action superhero movie, and it clashes with the Victorian era setting. And again, it's not unwatchable. There's a lot of entertainment. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen it.
I remember really liking Jekyll and Hyde in the movie.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really remember much. I mean, I remember he basically turns into the Grey Hulk. He's basically the Hulk in the comics, but it's quite a bit different, and we'll get into that once we're done talking about the movie. Sean Connery was in it. He did a pretty good job. He was kind of sleepwalking.
Was he Van Helsing?
He was Alan Quartermain, which I thought was pretty good. It was pretty good casting, I thought.
I forget who Alan Quartermain is.
Oh, he's basically a low-key version of Indiana Jones's dad from Last Crusade.
I see. What book is he from?
I can't remember the name of it. But like he's the star of like a series of African expedition adventure novels.
Yeah, the name's familiar. That's why I asked.
King Solomon's Mines, I think, is where he first appeared.
Yeah.
That might be the name of it. It had something to do with that.
I remember the movie was really grayish.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, I remember gray, giant pink, and then gray again.
Yeah, a lot of movies at the time were like that when they wanted to be taken super duper seriously.
I was gonna say, look at how Marvel's been doing with superhero movies. You can have color and action at the same time.
Yeah.
I remember Dorian Gray's death was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was interesting how they had because him and Tom Sawyer. Those two didn't actually appear in the comic, and it was interesting to see them sort of get incorporated into the movie, but kind of for the wrong reasons though, because Tom Sawyer was basically there just to have an American on the cast.
Oh, was he a villain?
No, he was the hero. He was actually kind of the disciple character to Alan Quartermain, because Alan Quartermain teaches him how to shoot at the end.
I was hoping that like Tom Sawyer would like, oh help, we need to stop, Dracula or whatever, and he goes, I'll paint his fences, trick Dracula into painting fences forever.
That's how he should have killed Dorian Gray, as he teaches him to paint over the, I don't know, that's dumb. Yeah, but it wasn't really faithful to the comic, and I think it was actually this movie in particular that caused Alan Moore to just disown any and all adaptations of his work. So every movie adaptation of his comics that came out after this, he would basically just refuse to give it his blessing. He would refuse to even talk to the studios.
Do you think he watched it?
No. Well, he'd watched League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, obviously.
Can you imagine if he like had Netflix on, Watchmen's on? Cortana, play Watchmen.
You think he'd use Cortana or Alexis, or which one do you think he would gravitate to?
Cortana, he's an old person. Obviously, he'll use a computer.
Cortana, pull up snake porn.
I remember reading one of the books where they had the guys with scissor hands. You have to understand, it was years since I read those.
I don't remember.
They were like boogeymen or something like that?
That sounds like the Black Dossier, but it's been a while since I read that. And like that one's probably the most confusing out of all the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen comics.
Yeah, I was like a kid when I read that, so I was like, what the fuck's going on here?
Yeah, there's a lot of that's where he really started to go off the rails. But we're getting ahead of ourselves because... Oh, wait, do we have anything more to say about the movie?
Who was the guy who tried taking the serum that Hyde made?
Oh, that was just some random thug, some random henchman.
Oh, can you imagine if it was Dr. Frankenstein?
Yeah, maybe.
That's how he makes his new monster?
Yeah.
Man, we should have directed the damn film. I mean, we were kids at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah, that's right.
when did it come out?
It came out like 2005, if I remember. No, wait, it may have been earlier. 2003?
How old were you when it came out?
I don't remember.
I was 4 if that came out in 2003. So.
I was like, I would have been. See, I'm 5 years older than you.
Yeah.
No, I'm older. Like you're 19,
yeah,
and I'm 26. Let's see. Let me try to do math.
while you do math, I'll be talking about this. It's an awesome name.
What's an awesome name?
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh yeah. Originally, it was going to be Leave Extraordinary Gentle Folk because it has a woman in the team. But
would that really fit the Victorian time?
Well, that was why they changed it to Gentlemen because the sexism and misogyny and let's not get political on this movie about monster movies and that
bigger monster movie.
Mm-hmm. Alan Moore actually gave this movie the middle finger in Volume 3, at the end of Volume 3, because at the end of, spoilers for Volume 3 of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but at the end, and the movie, because at the end of the movie, Alan Quatermain dies, and his body is buried in Africa, and it's foreshadowed earlier that he saved a shaman while he was there, and the shaman says, in Africa you will never die. And it was meant to be like a saying, sort of a phrasing, or but then it turns into a literal thing where a shaman comes up next to his grave and starts chanting, and the grave starts shaking, and then the movie ends. And at the end of Volume 3, he's buried in Africa, and he stays dead. So
So it wasn't the ending of Batman v Superman.
But yeah, at the end of the comic, it's just that shot of them leaving the grave behind, and it's just it's a touching moment, but you can just make out in the distance Alan Moore going "fuck you."
Oh man, I really need to read the comics now.
Yeah, but the comics are much better than for the most part, much better than the movie. Volumes 1 and 2 are some of the best comics I've read. Volume 1, I think both Volume 1 and 2 are the same quality. I have with me right here the omnibus edition of the first 2 volumes. So it collects the first 2 volumes with concept art and behind this, covers. Even had short stories. It probably doesn't have his scripts because Alan Moore is notorious for overwriting his scripts. If you've ever read the script for The Killing Joke, he for each panel he puts in 5 paragraphs of instructions to the artist.
It worked out, and
yeah, because he's very, very, very meticulous about direction and setting the scene.
I want the Invisible Man's hand slightly tilted upwards, as if he's trying to cut Mina Harker's.
Yeah, exactly, and it'll just go into these long soliloquies about what that means and why, the meaning of life. And
I really want him to do a take on Sonichu and literally just.
Oh, that would be amazing. Him or Grant Morrison, I would love to see them give a take on Sonichu.
But they have to keep the same tone as the originals.
Oh, Grant Morrison, I can see doing that. Alan Moore, I don't know, either of them.
He would do a dark reboot of it.
Maybe.
Anyways, on to a less terrifying monster.
Yeah.
I really need to read the comics. Perhaps someday in the far future I can read these and get back to this.
Yeah. They have them here at the library.
Yeah.
Excuse me. They have them here. It's really good. The first 2 at least. The 3rd volume is where it goes off the rails. Well, the Black Dossier is what's between volumes 2 and 3, and that's where it gets really weird in sort of a good way, depending on what kind of person you are. Because the Black Dossier is.
Isn't it partially in the universe as well?
Well, yeah, it is all in the universe, but it has all these different sort of features. There'll be chunks of it's more like a scrapbook than an actual graphic novel, in that it's broken up with all these different little vignette comics, where you'll have a pamphlet stapled in there, and it'll be it's meant to expand on the world, and even it comes with 3D glasses, because at the end of the book they go to this 4th dimensional world, and you have to put on the 3D glasses because it's all printed in Yeah, red and blue, like that photocopy trick.
Do you remember back when they had the yellow and purple glasses?
Remind me.
It was for 3D glasses that were yellow and purple.
Was that for movies or?
It was for movies and TV.
Okay.
Mostly TV because they didn't be a budget to do that. I remember they did like a Siege movie using those. And now we have the black sunglasses.
It's weird how like nobody really talks about 3D anymore. It was like super popular for a while.
Jaws, 3D.
No, I mean even as recent as like the last 5 years. Nobody really talks about it anymore. I mean they still make movies in 3D.
It's just not as big a deal.
Yeah.
I tell you what.
What's big right now is VR.
Make a VR movie of Godzilla where you're on the airplane and Godzilla and you have that'd be cool. Like every scene it switches your point of view so you can like see God. I'm sorry, I want to see Godzilla in IMAX, the new one.
Godzilla doesn't show up in the comic though. The Extraordinary Gentleman. That would've been cool. Cthulhu does though.
Did we do him well? Is he like this? Did we kill him?
They don't. Well, he doesn't actually. He shows up in the backstory short stories. And he's sort of just alluded to as being out there. They encounter him only once. Alan Quartermain and Mina Murray. They only encounter him once in like this haunted house, and because they're sent on a mission, and like once they come back to dispatch, they're like, "Don't you ever send us anywhere near something like that again, or else I will kill you."
They walk in there, it's Cthulhu sitting on the couch, like he's doing the dark side.
But yeah, it's like the more you read the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, it's a hard title to say.
Let's just call it League.
Yeah, like some people like the movie they shortened it to LXG, which is just super tacky in my opinion. Yeah.
It's like something that no one would do nowadays. AVX.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god.
But yeah, the comic, it's unlike the movie, it does not at all shy away from showing graphic stuff.
Like how violent of a death?
Well, there's not only deaths. Oh yeah, well, for one example is that the Invisible Man just bashes in the policeman's face with a brick for no reason other than to like take his clothes.
Did they get in trouble?
No. Well, like he goes back to the team. And they're like, did you freaking kill a policeman just to get that? And he's like, oh no, he's murdered a poor innocent policeman. Ooh, like he's so mean.
He's that guy in the group.
Yeah, basically. And he gets. Yeah,
did they kill him off?
Yeah, and probably one of the most graphic deaths I've ever seen is that Mr. Hyde rapes him to death and then like while he's like after he's finished, like he leaves him in agony until he like until he bleeds out, because it cuts to Mr. Hyde like eating at the dinner table, and then all of a sudden you see the Invisible Man's blood start to fade into existence.
I'm sorry. I'm just picturing like there's this really bad yaoi shipper who finds that really attractive.
Yeah.
I know those weird. Ugh.
But yeah, there's just all this, like, they don't shy away from showing like rape, bloody murder, pedophilia, torture, genocide, drug abuse, more rape, a lot more rape, just like...
Maybe we know what Alan Moore's personal worst fears are.
Yeah. I mean,
we have to make crossover with with Batman.
I don't know.
Like Batman exists in this universe.
Well, I'm sure he does, because as we find out in Volume 3, they just jam all fiction together into one universe.
What?
I mean, we'll get to that in a minute, because I still have a little bit more to say about the first two volumes. Yeah, despite all the rape and murder and stuff, the comic doesn't really come across as edgy. Like from the way I'm describing it, it sounds like some edgelord read Shakespeare once and just like decided to go to town writing like.
No, it's an edgelord who really likes his history class.
Mm-hmm. But Alan Moore, he like keeps the prose like very accurate to the period. He just nails the way people talked or people behaved back then for the most part. We talked about. Like the episode before this, Murders in the Rue Morgue, one about the orangutan. murdering the woman. In the comic, it's actually Mr. Hyde who does that.
Does he blame an orangutan?
Well, they say, like, the police just suspect an orangutan. And Alan Quartermain and Mina Harker. I keep trying to call her Mina Murray because, like, that was her name when she was still married to John Harker in Dracula. I guess, like, after he died, she took her name, or, like, maiden name. But, like, yeah, it's interesting to see him tie all these Victorian era stories together into one cohesive universe.
I just have a quick question about the room where we hung up on that. Like, I just have this mental image of Mr. Hyde breaking into a zoo, picking up an orangutan, and leaving it the murder scene. And they're beating this orangutan to death.
But yeah, what's less cohesive is Volume 3. In Volume 3, like I said, they just jumble and just jam-pack all this, like, other fiction together, contemporary fiction mostly. And that's where it starts to sort of get muddled.
What do you mean contemporary fiction?
Well, there's references from Harry Potter, there's references from James Bond, there's references from 30 Rock, of all things, and The West Wing, stuff that Alan Moore was probably watching in the daytime.
Can you imagine if he started, like, watching, like, Diary of a Wimpy or some shit like that?
I mean, I'm sure he would put that in at some point.
The kid, like, gets killed by Hyde. Does Hyde die in the comic this year?
Yeah, actually. And that's in...
Is, like, everyone die in this comic, pretty much?
Almost everyone, yes. Everyone who's not immortal. And even Alan Quartermain, who becomes immortal, he gets electrocuted to death when Harry Potter pees lightning on him.
What? I'm sorry. So, do you think Alan Moore does drugs?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you think his writing room is just a Colombian coke stash?
I'm sure he's got some cocaine in there.
He just writes in the cocaine, takes a picture, and sends it to the artist.
Yeah, there's no doubt that he's done opiates at one point in his life. But yeah, it gets really, really weird, even for Alan Moore's standards.
I kind of want to read it now, just now I'm free now.
I think you should. Yeah, it's there's 3 parts to Volume 3. And each one takes place in a different time period. The first one takes place in 1910. The second one takes place in 1968 or 69. And the last one that I have with me takes place in 2009. And it's
good.
It's good. I mean, I would say it's above average.
But it's not the first 2 volumes good.
Yeah, it's nowhere near as good as the first 2. You can tell he's just kind of bitter at this point.
About the first film?
About not just the first film, but, like, fiction in general, almost. I don't know, it's hard to describe. You have to read it for yourself and come to your own opinion, because I don't know if I can really put
words to it?
I don't know if I can put words to, like, how I feel about Volume 3.
I'm hung up on Godzilla recently because of news and the stuff. In our last episode, I really want to see, like, if a surviving cast are sitting on the beach or, in Victorian times, whatever, drinking whatever, tea and shit, and they see Godzilla sail them out of the water, and you hear someone go, "Not again."
Who's Victoria?
What?
Victoria? Who's that?
In Victorian times, whatever they drink. Victorian times.
Oh, okay.
I thought of the first team. I realized I slurred that.
Sorry.
I just want to picture, like, they have to battle Godzilla with, like, a steampunk Mechagodzilla suit. On a really off-topic note, they kind of did something like that. They were doing this comic called Godzilla Rage Across Time, where they had Godzilla in different time periods. They needed to have Nikola Tesla build a Mechagodzilla and have, like, it fall apart into a giant Tesla coil. Because literally, he's the father of modern electricity. Godzilla's weak to electricity.
Right. Everybody seemed, like, all the intellectual communities seem to have a boner for Tesla.
They even have Godzilla be defeated by Hannibal. Hannibal rides Godzilla to Rome.
How do you, like, ride Godzilla?
If memory serves correctly, they tie ropes around his shoulders and his hands and his neck. They basically, have you seen Gulliver's Travels or Reddit?
Yeah.
You know how they tie him down? Mm-hmm. They do that kind of tying to his limbs. So when Godzilla tries to move, they're moving him in that direction.
But how do they like get past the radiation? Because isn't
They sealed his mouth shut.
I thought that his whole body was radioactive.
They never explained. I just like to imagine afterwards, like, that's if Hannibal died of leukemia. They had one really cool story in there where they had this guy ride Godzilla. The comics seem to imply he's only radioactive when he uses his fire breath, because his sails generate actual full radiation. Would he survive the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, Godzilla does not appear again in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. But I could see. Actually, I don't know who would be able to fight him, because actually in
Loch Ness Monster? Like, they do a Scottish rite, they pull out a bagpipe.
I don't know, because the League barely defeated, because at the end of, actually most of Volume 2 has them fighting the aliens from War of the Worlds. And the only way that they're able to defeat them, because that's actually how Mr. Hyde dies, is that he takes down one of them, and then an army of them just heat ray him to death in an explosion. But the only way they're able to beat the walkers is to just kill them with nerve gas. And it's the most anticlimactic shit ever, but it works for the cynical edge that the series has.
I like cynical stories.
Yeah, because that's one major theme of the comics is demystifying these stories. And it's sort of, I don't know, it's not really about subverting your expectations, but
it's more
it's more like adding a layer of realism.
Do you think if they made a movie nowadays that they would make Hyde who he is in the comics?
I would hope that if there was a Netflix series about this, then they do it justice.
They have Penny Dreadful. Just see some ideas from that. Yeah. Question for you. Let's do this. Who would you have play some of the characters?
If they did a reboot, yeah. I would say, I don't know, because I have the feeling that if this were to be made, then most of the cast would be from Game of Thrones. And I haven't watched Game of Thrones, so...
All I know is the song Hands of Gold.
I would probably cast... I don't know. I'm sure that Benedict Cumberbatch would have to be one of the characters at one point.
He would play a young Alec... The guy, the African hunter. Alan Quartermain. My mind's off today, I apologize.
That's fine, mine is too.
We were both burnt out today.
Yeah. How long have we been recording?
About 37 minutes.
Alright.
I just have to say this, based on from my memory. I think a good person to play Hyde would be the guy who played Sabretooth in the X-Men movies.
What's his name?
I forget his name.
Because I feel like I haven't, he's probably one of those actors who just has been out of work for a long time and only got famous for one role, or even was just recognized in one role.
They should have him come back. They should have him in Logan. Off topic. Hey, technically Wolverine's a monster. Haha. They should just have Sabretooth come out. He's an old man too. It's they have this old man fight on top of a burning tree.
Well, Fantastic Four, that was originally a risk because superhero comics weren't popular back then. The reason that Stan Lee invented the Thing and put him in there was so that if the comics started tanking because of the superhero theme, then you could fall back on this character who's a monstrous creature, and they'd be oh, this was a monster comic the whole time. That's
actually really Stan Lee. Say what you will about him. Actually, don't, because he's an awesome guy. Mm-hmm. But Stan Lee has an eye for jumping on trends. Mm-hmm. Patriotism with Captain America, the fear of communism with Iron Man, everyone being angry as a Hulk. Mm-hmm. Question about League, though. Would you say League is an easy read?
No, actually. I mean, it is, like I said, the prose he gets right, Alan Moore gets right. And that might be a turnoff for some people.
It's very period accurate.
Yeah.
Minus the whole tripods and monsters.
I mean, it's not that hard to read because when I tried to read Macbeth, or not Macbeth, it was Hannibal, but Hamlet. Yeah, when I was trying to read Hamlet back in college, I could not get through it because just the vocabulary was so dense. This is not that complicated. This is not that dense. But there are some... it's paced very delicately, very methodically, and like for people who are used to all action all the time, it might be a turnoff for them. Like if you've only read Transformers comics for the last 30 years.
Hey, Transformers created Death's Head, and he's my favorite Marvel bounty hunter.
Right. But like I'm saying, like this is sort of like elevated literature. Not really.
I have this mental image of.
I mean, it's got Mr. Hyde raping the Invisible Man to death. It's not that classy.
I like to picture Alan Moore does he have any kids?
Not that I know of.
Probably in some bin of this kid writing, comic books in the trash. He works for Marvel. I like to imagine that, like, man, reading classic literature is so boring. And he goes, bullshit! Hand me my typewriter and my drug stash.
That is something he would say. But I would highly recommend at least giving Volume 1 a shot.
I think I will, actually. It seems up my alley.
Yeah. And with that, I think that's all that needs to be said.
All right.
I've been Tony.
I've been Zach.
And this has been The Monkey Bar.
I'm hard.